Recording in progress. We're ready, Mayor.
Good evening. I would like to call Pastor Billy Lowe for tonight's invocation. Or Billy Lowe? No,
He might
not
be
here?
running just a little bit late.
Okay,
Yes.
so we will skip the invocation for tonight, and if he comes in, we'll allow him to do that.
you.
So I would like to call the regular meeting of the Milton City Council for Monday, October 7th, 2024 to order. The city encourages you to review tonight's agenda carefully. Each citizen who chooses to participate in public comment must complete a comment card and submit it to the city clerk prior to the agenda item being called. While the Milton rules allow a speaker to turn in their comment card up until the clerk calls the agenda item, once the agenda item is called, no more comment cards can be accepted. Will the city clerk please call the roll and make general announcements?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll be happy to call a roll for the October 7th, 2024 regular City Council meeting. I would like to remind those in attendance to please silence all cell phones at this time. As the mayor mentioned, if you would like to make a public comment, then you are required to complete a public comment card prior to the agenda item being called. If you have not submitted your cards to me yet, please bring your cards to me now. If you're representing an organization, a notarized affidavit is required stating you have the authority to speak on behalf of that organization. Demonstration of any sort within the chamber is prohibited. Please refrain from any applause, cheering, booing, outburst, or dialogue with any person speaking. Anyone in violation may be asked to leave. Mayor and Council, as I call roll this evening, please confirm your attendance. Mayor Peyton Jamison.
Here.
Councilmember Andrea Veerhoff.
Here.
Councilmember Doug Haney.
Here.
Councilmember Juliette Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Carol Kirkley.
Here.
And Councilmember Jan Jacobus.
Present.
For the record, Councilmember Phil Kramer is absent. Mayor, you do have a quorum. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next is approval of the meeting agenda. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion that we approve the meeting agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilor Jacobus and a second from Councilor Cookerly to approve the meeting agenda as presented. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that is unanimous. And before we move on to public comment, I would like to read a statement regarding the App and Media article, September 23rd, 2024. The Story Appeals Court affirms $32.5 million judgment against Milton, and this is in the September 23rd paper, provided an unbiased compendium of events, but several critical facts were omitted. The result is some readers have misunderstood the city's role in the litigation and have drawn inaccurate conclusions. The article references instances where lawyers representing the city rejected settlement offers. Let me be clear that neither the city officials nor our legal counsel played any part in defending the city during the case. It was taken out of our hands. The Georgia Interlocal Risk Management Agency, better known as GIRMA, our insurer, was responsible for managing legal representation. GIRMA is solely responsible for settling or not settling the claims it defends on the city's behalf. Neither the city nor its legal team were given a role in settlement negotiations. What happened to Mr. Chang was certainly a tragedy, but we firmly believe the city of Milton should not be held liable. As such, we will continue to pursue reasonable outcome to protect the city and taxpayers from this unjust financial burden. We just want to make sure we set the record straight. With that, I will call for public comment.
Mayor, we do have public comment.
Okay?
You want to read the rules?
Yes, I will. Sorry
Thank
about that. I just got done with a lot of reading. I thought I was out of it.
We just love hearing you talk.
That's right. General public comment is a time for citizens to share information with the mayor and the city council and to provide input and opinions on any matter that is not scheduled for its own public hearing during today's meeting. Please remember this is not a time to engage the mayor or members of the city council in conversation. When your name is called, please come forward and speak into the microphone stating your name and address for the record. If applicable, if you're speaking for an organization as well. And I will ask the city clerk to please call the first public comment.
Mayor, thank you very much. I will remind everyone that for general public comment, that you are allowed to speak for 5 minutes, and I will invite you to the podium and we'll make an announcement when 1 minute does remain. I invite Mr. John Ludstead to the podium, please.
John Lundstedt, 15755 Burdette Court. So a couple of city council meetings ago, I brought up some questions related to the Deerfield property, and I asked for somebody to call and provide some information. And so Tom McElveen gave me a call, and we had a long conversation. He answered a lot of my questions, and that was fantastic. That's how it's supposed to be. There are quite a few things I didn't have all the information on, or wanted to know what some of the priorities were, and that's great. I didn't necessarily agree with 100% of it, but at least I had the information. I'm pushing and pushing, again, 20 acres, that's all we have. So we have to optimize. That's what I'm trying to push for, like multi-purpose fields. So one of the concerns, I guess, from putting multiple triangles on a rectangle is we've got a lot of kids who can hit the ball into the other fields. So not only is it a nuisance, it could be dangerous. Okay, that's legitimate. So let's put rectangles on triangles. Let's expand the size of the fields, and let's mark some of the outfield in rectangles, and we can have some smaller rectangles like we have at Legacy Park, but also let's set it up so the teams that play lacrosse, soccer, football can schedule the triangles. Maybe that's the way of solving that problem, but we don't need 4 only dedicated baseball fields. Let's maximize and optimize that space. I'd also been pushing from a parking perspective on taking a look at some of the other locations around the park to be able to park. But Tom came up with a very good point. We don't know what's going to happen with those other locations. So do we dig ourselves a hole by saying, oh, let's go to the north where the old city council was, or to Verizon, but then if something happens to it, we're in a hole. Okay, that makes perfect sense. And we need around 50 spots per field. That's kind of the number that's used. Okay, that makes perfect sense. So let's maximize those parking spaces in this location. We don't need pretty parking spaces. We don't need bioswales. We don't need things like that. We just need to jam parking in there. So I showed this picture the last time, and I know you can't see it too well. I talked about this. This is Diamond Nation in Flemington, New Jersey, and it's a sports complex, and girls play lacrosse here. It's really a baseball and softball field. But if you'll notice, and I know it's hard to see, but this is the parking lot down here, and it has nothing else except for parking. So what they've done is they've maximized and optimized the parking to allow for as many fields as possible. All right, so if we do need 300 fields, let's just jam it in there. It doesn't need to look pretty. And the other thing that I was thinking is, if we try to do too much and make this a beautiful park with trees and squirrels and park benches, we don't need that. What we need is education in Milton of all the other locations that we have available in our city to do that. So we've got Providence Park, which is beautiful. Lackawanna Preserve, Milton City Park and Preserve is going to be beautiful. Birmingham Park. Those are our parks to go walk and sit under a tree on a park bench and look at squirrels. This is an athletic complex. And finally, I'm going to push for, we shouldn't even call it a park. We should call it an athletic complex, the Milton Athletic Complex or the Milton Sports Complex, because that's what we need. That's the number one priority for those 20 acres, to jam as many fields as possible on there, to jam as much parking on there. It doesn't need to look pretty. It needs to provide a service, which is playing fields. Thank you.
Thank you. Please call the next speaker.
Mayor, invite Sarah Moen to the podium, please.
Sarah Moen, 130 Providence Plantation Drive. On June 15th, 2023, a jury found the city liable in the wrongful death of Joshua Chang. His parents were awarded $27,900,000 for the full value of his life, in addition to $4,650,000 for pain and suffering. On September 16th of this year, the appellate court upheld that decision and in addition ordered the city to pay post-judgment interest at the present Georgia post-judgment rate of 11%. That accrues at a rate of over $10,000 per day. As of today, October 7th, 2024, total interest due post-judgment is roughly $4,800,000. The city's current appeal will, at best, be decided by the end of this year, but there is no guarantee that will be the case. If this stretches on for another 6 months, interest will accrue to roughly $6,550,000. 8 months, $7,160,000. A year, $8,450,000. Using statistics from the U.S. Census Bureau, to pay the judgment, an interest amount of $37,350,000 that's due today, it would cost every citizen living in Milton $890,000, or every household $2,460. Those numbers increase with each passing day. According to the FAQ posted to the city website last Friday evening, quote, "The city was not consulted to approve or disapprove the settlement discussions with the plaintiff prior to the jury verdict. Regardless of the city's alleged non-involvement in that process, they have a fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers to assess and project for all possible outcomes, financial or otherwise, and act prudently on behalf of the residents and taxpayers of the city. I and several others have stood here on multiple occasions citing this Chang case as well as the winery lawsuit and implored the city to make wise financial choices, knowing a legal decision that could severely impact taxpayers was not only possible, but probable. I requested the city implement a zero-based budget to weed out unneeded costs in an effort to discover monies that could be used, if needed, for these legal judgments. Additionally, I, as well as several others, have stood here on multiple occasions to insist the city enforce their own codes and ordinances. This Chang case was cited nearly every time as the primary reason the city needed to enforce their codes. It was one of the core arguments in denying the alcohol license to the DeRose Vintners Winery. The city was aware of this potential liability, so what has been done, if anything, to protect us, the taxpayers, from any future avoidable liabilities? Why does the city continue to govern reactively instead of proactively? The FAQ page posted to the city website on Friday evening was quite simply too little too late. The city could have, should have, kept the taxpayers abreast of all possible outcomes regarding the Chang case, especially when there was a high probability that our personal finances would be severely impacted. Residents could have been made aware without jeopardizing privileged information, and to suggest otherwise is, quite frankly, a poor excuse for non-disclosure. This quote from Mr. Milton, attorney for the Chang family, says it all. Since Joshua's untimely death, 12 independent Fulton County jurors have spoken, and 5 judges with over 75 years of combined judicial experience have rejected Milton's attempts to have this matter dismissed. It's time for Milton to accept responsibility, pay the required restitution, and return to fiscal responsibility by ending this litigation and saving on post-judgment interest and untold attorney fees.
1 minute.
Whatever role the city plays currently, it is time to stop the bleeding and time for the city to be completely transparent with the taxpayers who will undoubtedly be saddled with this exorbitant financial burden. Thank you.
Thank you. Will you please call the next speaker?
I invite Christy Hayes to the podium.
Christy Hayes, 13585 Hopewell Road. Mayor and Council, the decision by the Georgia Court of Appeals denying Milton's claim of sovereign immunity and denying a new trial that dropped on September 16th, 2024 raises serious questions about the management of our city. In reviewing the court information from 2022, 2023, and the Court of Appeals ruling on September 16th of this year, several details emerged that are red flags for the city of Milton and, in my opinion, require immediate attention by this council. Let us not forget the Chang family lost their child in a senseless accident for which the court has now ruled 2 times the city was negligent in preventing. No amount of money will ever bring their child back, and as parents and human beings, we should all keep that information in mind. The disastrous decision not to accept any one of the 7 offers of settlement ranging from $1.75 million to $10 million before the trial started in June of 2023 reflect an obstinate and defiant city management that defies logic. Who made the decision to reject all settlement offers and why? In the AJC article about the appeal verdict, the city said it would pursue all available options for further examination of this sizable verdict. As a tax-paying resident of Milton, I implore you not to pursue any additional legal avenues since we are currently responsible for the $35 million verdict and the accrual of nearly $10,000 per day in interest. Any further delay would likely render the same result with the added benefit of additional interest payments. And I challenge each of you to read the judgment for yourselves and come up with a different opinion, and I will be emailing all of you that verdict this evening. The city again responded to the AJC saying if it is responsible for ensuring the entire right-of-way is clear of obstructions, it will result in an unprecedented mandatory clearing of those right-of-way corridors. I don't know about you, but this seems like a small price to pay versus the loss of innocent lives on our roadways. Again, from the AJC article, should the verdict stand, the city said taxpayers across the state might be burdened with the cost of removing these objects, while municipalities could face hefty legal verdicts, potentially leading to financial distress. We are in financial distress because of the actions of the city. Myself and others have stood before you asking for your support in not approving purchases like the Arnold Mill property for unknown recreational use or development. And this was after the city overpaid for the Bates and Hudson properties, both of which sit abandoned, all the while facing continued legal fees and a possible settlement payment due to malfeasance in the Rosenberger case, and all the while waiting for this wrongful death lawsuit to conclude. Since the judgment dropped, I myself have received 11 emails from the city of Milton on a variety of topics, from recreation opportunities to CPR classes, to storm preparation, to waste and recycling surveys, and more, and not one word on a judgment that affects every household in the Milton's bottom line. It wasn't until a concerned resident asked the mayor for information about the lawsuit that the city put up the FAQ on the website without any email or social media notice of its existence. This appears an intentional act to keep this vital information from the public. You are our elected representatives, and as such, it is your job to hold the city accountable for these egregious actions on our behalf and to institute mandatory yearly performance reviews of the city manager. How much longer will citizens be forced to pay for this incompetency? You either do something constructive or you are a part of the problem. You have the opportunity and the duty to fully investigate this matter and hold those responsible accountable. It's time to ask some tough questions because this issue
1 minute.
and those of us who care about it are not going away. Thank you for your time.
Thank
Mayor, I
you.
invite Julie Martin to the podium, please.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I'm Julie Martin. I live at 1800 Providence Farms Lane. I am also a realtor in the area, and I sell a home or two around town and have a vested interest in the success of our community, as we all do. I also brought some friends back there. I didn't come alone. As we all know, buyers and builders are flocking to Milton. They all love our small town charm. And as we continue to grow and adapt to the needs of our residents, it's important to strike a balance between environmental sustainability, practical land use, and property rights. For homeowners and developers, some of the current building restrictions are inhibiting flexibility. And specifically, the impervious restriction is the one that's ever present in the conversation these days in our communities, and it's happening all over. So I know it's not just Milton that we're seeing some increased stormwater management constraints, but what we're here seeking as realtors is a solution, some reasonable alternatives instead of no's. We have, if I look at our website and I drive around town and have a spreadsheet, we have over 200 new single-family homes in various stages of development, whether permitted, proposed, already on the market, all new construction, $2 million and up. That's quite a lot of new construction coming. And those are some high-end buyers, and they are going to want their outdoor kitchens and their pools and their spas and their parking. And as agents, we are seeking alternatives, reasonable solutions, permeable paver driveways, things of that nature that can allow these buyers to have what they want. And truly, we find ourselves not knowing how to advise our buyers and our builders in the time frame with which we're trying to go from contract to close. We don't have a lot of time. We don't want to overburden the city with, can I put my pool in? I need to know, I have to know. Everybody's doing all that they can to keep our city somewhere that buyers and builders want to stay. We love it here. We want to keep the home values going up, and we are just seeking solutions. We're here for dialogue, and I think when I speak at public commentary, that means that I probably am volunteering for something, but I'm certainly happy to do that as well. So thank you all.
Thank you. Will you please call the next speaker?
Mayor, I invite Chris Hayes to the podium.
My name is Chris Hayes, and I live at 13585 Hopewell Road. Excuse me. I'm here to comment on the recent updates provided by the City of Milton via the frequently asked questions regarding the chain appeal judgment. For some background, I've been a commercial insurance broker for roughly 35 years. I work and consult with private companies in several different industries that range from 100 million in sales to several billion. While I do not work with municipalities, many of my clients are in the healthcare and construction fields, which are far more litigious industries than the municipalities, especially given the sovereign immunity defense for municipalities. To quote the statement from Mayor Jameson on the website, it read, the story that read the appeals court affirms $32.5 million judgment against Milton, the City of Milton by Appen Media on September 23rd, 2024, provided an unbiased summary of events, but several critical facts were omitted. The result is some readers have misunderstood the city's role in the litigation and have drawn inaccurate conclusions. The article references instances where lawyers representing the city rejected settlement offers. The first point said, let me be clear that neither city officials nor our legal counsel played any part in defending the city during this case. It was taken out of our hands. The Georgia Interlocal Risk Management Agency, GIRMA, our insurer, was responsible for managing the legal representation. GIRMA is solely responsible for settling or not settling the claims it defends on behalf of the city. Neither the city nor its legal team were given a role in settlement negotiations. I think it's very important to note that the City of Milton is the attorney's client, the defense attorney's client, not GIRMA. That's an important distinction, as the city attorney the defense attorney should have been looking out for the City of Milton's best interest, not the insurer, GIRMA. Second question, was the Milton involved in the defense of this case? The answer was no. The city's insurer, GIRMA, has the sole authority of settlement of claims. Well, I don't dispute this, but my question would be, did the city put GIRMA, the insurer, on notice that they should settle the case, especially if it had a strong possibility of exceeding policy limits? It's very commonplace in the insurance business to send what we term a hammer letter in these situations. A hammer letter is a letter written or on behalf of the insured or the carrier, of the insured, typically by the defense attorney, that clearly and unequivocally demands, first, that the insurer settle the claim or suit within the policy limits, and then second, warns that a failure to do so would leave the primary insurer responsible to pay any ultimate cost above the primary limits. My question is, was that done? I think it's paramount that the current council members find the answer to that question. The next question was, were the city council, city attorney, or other city officials asked to provide input on settlement offers or plaintiff's attorneys? The answer was no. City was not consulted to approve or disapprove settlement discussions with the plaintiff prior to their jury verdict. Again, the City of Milton is the client. In a litigated matter, the defense attorney has the responsibility to advise the client on settlement discussions, especially if it will exceed the limits of insurance. And if you're saying that you weren't advised, did you ask the city attorney for advice? I want to know who's protecting the City of Milton and its taxpaying citizens. Who had those conversations? Finally, the next four questions I have no issues with. The final question specifically asks, the final question reads, outside of the court proceedings, are there other steps Milton is taking to address this judgment? The answer is yes. In consultation with the city attorney, the city is reviewing other options that may reduce the city's monetary exposure.
1 minute.
Those options are not subject to disclosure at this time. So the city attorney is involved now, but he was not involved when the GIRMA matter was in litigation. I find that hard to believe, especially since Gurma supposedly turned down 7 different settlement offers during the litigation. I think that's another question that the city council members should find the answer to. Finally, I'd like to express my deepest sympathies to the Chang family around the loss of their son. I cannot imagine the grief that they face, and I pray that they find peace.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment?
Mayor, the final public comment is via email from citizen Mary Cronk, 600 Hickory Mill Lane. She is out of the jurisdiction. Her email reads, is about the Joshua Chang wrongful death lawsuit. The FAQ posted on the city's website states that the city was not involved in reviewing and refusing 7 separate settlement offers. It also states that the city was not involved in the decision to appeal the $32.5 million judgment, which was denied on September 16th. It further states that those decisions were made by the city's insurance company, Gurma. However, the FAQ subsequently states that the city, not attorneys representing Gurma, filed the most current motion to the Court of Appeals asking for reconsideration of their denial. It also states that the city, not attorneys representing Gurma, would ask the Supreme Court to review the case should the reconsideration be denied. These are confusing and seemingly conflicting statements. On the one hand, Gurma is making decisions on the city is making the decisions and the city is not involved at all. But on the other hand, the way the FAQ is worded, it sounds like the city is now making these decisions and filing motions. Please clarify the information for the FAQ as a first step in helping taxpayers understand the situation. If the city is still not involved, please state that Gurma filed the latest motion and Gurma will be asking the Supreme Court to review the case. No one expects or wants the city to divulge privileged information that could impact the current appeal, but the impact from further denials of appeals will affect all Milton taxpayers, not just those who are already aware of the situation. Our city has an excellent communications department. Can they use their expertise to craft communications that are informative without containing sensitive information so that this vital information can be shared with all municipal and Milton taxpayers? Mayor, that concludes general public comment.
Okay, I will close public comment and we will move on to the consent agenda. Will the city clerk please say on the items?
Mayor, that first item is approval of the September 16th, 2024 regular city council meeting minutes, agenda item number 24295. B is approval of the financial statements and investment report for the period ending August 31st, 2024, agenda item number 24296. C is approval of an easement agreement for ingress and egress between the City of Milton and Sally Rich Cobb at 12615 Broadwell Road, agenda item number 24297. D is approval of a construction services agreement with the Georgia Gunite and Pool Company to make repairs and reseal the pool deck at the Milton City Park and Preserve, agenda item number 24298. Next is approval of a services agreement between the City of Milton and Capital City Electrical Services, LLC, for on-call electrical services, agenda item number 24299. F is approval of a professional services agreement between the City of Milton and Moffitt and Nickel for the conceptual design services for access management, parking lot improvements, drainage enhancements, and outdoor facility improvements at the Milton City Park and Preserve, and access management, drainage enhancements, and parking lot improvements at Legacy Park. Agenda item number 24300. Our final consent item is approval of a services agreement with National Center for Safety Initiatives to provide background check services for the City of Milton and the city's partnered recreation providers. Agenda item number 24301. Mayor Jameson?
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor, make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as read.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Cookerly and a second from Councilmember Johnson to approve the consent agenda as read. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That is unanimous. We will move on to reports and presentations. Will the city clerk please call the item?
Mayor, that first item is a presentation of the Champion of Georgia Cities Award. Mayor Jameson?
Thank you. I'm going to now turn it over to the Georgia Municipal Association Director of Governmental Relations, Jim Thornton.
Well, good evening, and thank you, Mayor, members of the council. As said, I'm Jim Thornton, Director of Governmental Relations for GMA. I know all of you are familiar with GMA, but maybe for the benefit of your audience, GMA is a membership organization that represents all Georgia cities at both the state and the federal level, providing advocacy under the Gold Dome as well as in Washington, D.C. GMA was founded in 1933 for the purpose of being the advocate for all Georgia cities. I'm pleased to say that there are 536 cities in Georgia, and all of them have chosen to be members of GMA, participate in the GMA services, particularly the advocacy, which is the role that I represent. I'm joined tonight by Claire Chan, who is a member of our government relations team as well. And we have the opportunity to work with with all elected officials at the state and Georgia's delegation at the federal level. But particularly focusing under the Gold Dome at the Georgia General Assembly, we work with all 236 members of the legislature, both House and Senate. And at the end of every 2-year biennial session, we are able to present Champion of Georgia Cities Awards. We're presenting 10 of those awards this year out of the 236 members of the General Assembly. So this is a very small, select group of individuals who work closely with GMA to represent the interests of Georgia cities, including Milton, under the Gold Dome. And so we've been going around presenting these awards, and tonight I have the opportunity to present one to your state representative, Speaker Pro Tem Jan Jones, who represents the city of Milton, also serves in obviously a very important leadership capacity under the Gold Dome as the number 2 ranking member, if you will, in the State House of Representatives. We recognize through the Champion of Georgia Cities Awards those members who are open to your issues, open to city issues, who are receptive to the concerns of all Georgia cities. We understand that every community is different. There's 536 cities across Georgia. Milton is one of them. Milton has particular issues that are unique to you, but there are a range of cities across the state. And our principal goal under the Gold Dome is to make sure that the members of the General Assembly know that decisions that affect the city of Milton are best made by the mayor and council who are elected in the city of Milton. You may do things differently than South Fulton or LaGrange or Macon or Savannah, and that's okay, because each individual community has the opportunity to elect their own elected officials to represent the values and the interests and the priorities of that community. Your representative state representative Jan Jones is the epitome of understanding the importance of local decision-making and local control. Over the last 2 years, there have been a number of pieces of legislation that have been introduced. Some of them have actually advanced. And one thing that we see, a common theme sometimes at the General Assembly, is they're either preemption or they're mandate. Preemption is taking away your authority to make decisions here on the local level. Mandate is telling you what you have to do, and oftentimes requiring you to do things without any source of funding associated with it. But I'm here to tell you that your representative, Speaker Pro Tem Jones, is a fierce advocate for you, for local decision-making, for recognizing that the decisions that affect the residents of Milton are best made by the local elected officials here in Milton. And so she has been a great help to us in pushing back against some of those bad preemptive bills, some of which I know your own mayor was involved with in lobbying on our behalf as well, that would have taken away local control as it relates to zoning and planning and other local decision-making. And so she's been very helpful to us in that. She's always accessible. She's always willing to listen. We don't always agree on everything, and that's part of the legislative process. But you are well represented, and so it's my honor on behalf of not just Milton, but all 536 cities across the state to present a Champion of Georgia Cities Award to State Representative Jan Jones.
Yay.
I thought there was only one. I didn't realize there were 10. Can I say a word too?
Sure, yeah, we'll come down and take a picture when you're done.
Thank you. I really just want to say this to the residents, really, because you are their representatives. And what I particularly like about local control is that when you disagree, as some of you did tonight, with decisions of your representatives, at least you can affect that. Tell them how you feel and influence them. What I see at the federal level and at the state level are concerted attempts to take away the ability of your elected representatives to make decisions that you may or may not like. If the state takes them over, the feds take them over, you have almost no influence, because the only thing you do is maybe your state rep, one out of 180. And steady drumbeat, as Jim said, to take away the ability of local communities to make decisions about design review standards, about zoning, about rental units, about all sorts of things that I very deeply that I honor a representative democracy. That's what you have here. It's why we created the city of Milton, and they do a far superior, and in most cases, an excellent job, far better than a county commission that represents a million. Certainly assure you, much better than the legislature where I serve, that represents 11 million people and represents many viewpoints that may not. So I'm honored to accept this, and I'm just really happy to be here and very happy with how you listen to the residents and you take in what they say, and I'm just glad I'm not you. Because it is representative democracy is messy, it's ugly, it's imperfect, and it's better than any other form of government. Thrilled to be here and happy to take this from you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we're gonna have a picture.
Straight in the middle.
Go up here.
That's the mayor.
Jim was the prior mayor of LaGrange. I think you missed Monday nights.
We were Tuesday.
Tuesday nights. Okay.
I love it. They were always.
Okay. This will be real quick. 3, 2, 1. Thank you very much.
Okay, will the city clerk please stay on the next item?
Mayor, our next item is recognition of the Milton Green Space Advisory Committee. Mayor Jameson?
Yes, tonight we are honored to recognize a wonderful group of individuals in this city who made a mark on what we are doing as the future of our city. In 2016, we did a $25 million green space advisory bond, really not knowing what we were actually doing back in 2016. But these gentlemen that are sitting here in the room kind of guided us on what we were going to purchase, how we were going to purchase these properties, and what we were going to do with them. I believe what they have done is planned this city, has set it up for success in the future. We have purchased hundreds of acres of passive green space for the citizens to enjoy. Slowly but surely, we're going to be opening up those green spaces to the public so that they can enjoy them. And we hopefully will have one last acquisition to announce. And what they have done absolutely is going to make this city an even better place to live for our kids and grandkids. So I want to thank each of you. I know tonight we have Robin Gray, Curtis Mills, Robin Frickton, Steve Wheeler, Mark Wally, Robbie Brandon, and we previously honored Colt Whittle. So thank you for all you have done for us. We have a plaque for you. And I tell you what, I'm going to drive around 20, 30 years from now, telling my grandkids what all that y'all have done. So we appreciate all your hard work. If y'all will come up, we'll take a picture and present the plaques. Yeah. How many are in the audience tonight? How many do we have?
We
5.
1, 2, let me see. 3,
Oh,
2.
Let's have council all down there. That'd be good.
Here, I want to. Robin.
Perfect. I got you all. You ready? Up here. In three. 3, 2, 1. Good. I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay, will the city clerk please stay on the next item?
Mayor, that next item is a proclamation recognizing Cybersecurity Awareness Month and efforts by a local student to ensure people of all ages stay safe online. Mayor Jameson?
Thank you. So I am honored tonight to read this proclamation about Cybersecurity Awareness Month. It is an annual opportunity to engage and educate the public many online threats to people and businesses, as well as how they can protect themselves. Joining us tonight is Ananya Tadapalli, a student who has made an effort in the community to increase cybersecurity awareness and share this important message to children through her children's book called Cyberville Chronicles. I will read this proclamation now, and this is whereas there are more ways than ever to interact, do business, to be productive online, as well as more ways than ever for your identity, money, and overall safety to be threatened. And whereas Cybersecurity Awareness Month began in 2004 to raise awareness about these dangers, as well as to inform citizens, businesses, and governments what they can do to protect themselves virtually, and whereas steps like spotting phishing scams, using strong passwords, going through secure connections, being social media savvy, and making sure your software is up to date. And whereas, thankfully, there are several organizations and individuals who lend their time, expertise, and energy to promoting cybersecurity. And whereas, one of them is Ananya Tadapalli, who studied at Milton schools and authored a children's book called Cyberville Chronicles. And whereas her book uses a character-driven narrative to educate and engage kids about how to smartly and effectively spot and deal with cyber criminals. And whereas Milton applauds these and other such efforts that raise awareness and in doing so help protect people of all generations online. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and the city council of the city of Milton, proclaim October as Cybersecurity Awareness Month in the city of Milton. This is given under my hand and seal of the city of Milton, Georgia, on the 7th day of October of 2024. If you'll come up, we'll present the proclamation. Let's all go down there. Get some exercise on.
You guys ready? In 3, 3, 2. Thank you.
And will the city clerk please stay on the next item?
Our next item is the proclamation recognizing October 6th through the 12th as Fire Prevention Week in Milton. Mayor Jameson?
Thank you. Milton firefighters train extensively so that they can effectively fight fires, which they do whenever called into action. Milton Fire Rescue's Community Risk Reduction Team puts so much time and energy into promoting fire prevention. Every year in October, we recognize Fire Prevention Week with a proclamation that I will read now. And this proclamation reads, whereas while Milton firefighters train extensively so they can effectively fight fires, which they certainly do whenever called into action, they'd much rather fires not happen at all. And whereas this is why fire prevention is a top priority for the Milton Fire Rescue Department, knowing that simple steps by citizens can be critical in saving lives and properties. And whereas the danger is real, with firefighters nationwide responding to more than 360,000 house fires in 2022 that killed over 2,700 people. And whereas Milton Fire Rescue's Community Risk Reduction Division works thoughtfully and extensively to educate and engage the public to minimize the potential for such tragedies in our own community. And whereas this engagement happens year-round, through the second week of October annually is an opportunity to highlight this important topic since it is also National Fire Prevention Week. And whereas the 2024 theme is Smoke Alarms, Make Them Work for You, as part of the concerted effort to encourage people to install smoke alarms and make sure they are working properly. And whereas these and other common sense measures can help protect your home and family should a fire erupt. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and the city council of the city of Milton, proclaim October 6th to the 12th, 2024 to be Fire Prevention Week in Milton. And we encourage people to be mindful and take action to prevent house fires as best they can. This is given under my hand and seal of the city of Milton, Georgia on the 7th day of October of 2024. Thank you. I would also like to thank Daniel Lager, who with State Farm, who provided the educational fire kits throughout the week. So thank you, Daniel Lager. You guys like stand up. Okay. You get your exercise.
Can we have y'all come down? Or if you, we
No.
need some to help hold. Yes. Well, let's see how that does. Yeah,
I
let's
think
see.
it'll be a look around. Yeah, you guys got this. Okay, let's see.
Oh, this is perfect. That's good. Can you get it?
Oh, I got you. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Good. Thanks.
Okay, will the city clerk please sound the last item?
That last item for reports and presentation is a proclamation recognizing National Community Planning Month. Mayor Jameson?
Thank you. So I'm honored to read this proclamation. National Community Planning Month is kind of very dear to our hearts in Milton as we know how zoning impacts our citizens and everything that our volunteers do. So smart, thoughtful, citizen-driven community planning has helped make Milton the great place it is today. All thanks to our community development team and members of the Planning Commission, Board of Zoning Appeals, and Design Review Board. We would like to extend our appreciation for all their hard work by recognizing them with this proclamation tonight. I know we have members of our Planning Commission, Design Review Board, and Board of Zoning Appeals here tonight. A lot of us sitting on this dais were members of those committees too. So we appreciate all your hard work. I'll read this proclamation. Whereas change is constant and affects all cities, towns, suburbs, counties, rural areas, and other places. And whereas Milton has an impactful history of community planning since the inception of the city. And whereas community planning and plans can help manage this change in a way that provides better choices for how people live and work. And whereas community planning provides an opportunity for all residents to be meaningfully involved in making choices that determine the future of their community. And whereas the full benefit of planning requires public officials and citizens who understand, support, and demand excellence in planning and plan implementation. And whereas the month of October is designated as National Community Planning Month throughout the United States of America and its territories. Whereas the celebration of National Community Planning Month gives us the opportunity to publicly recognize the participation and dedication of members of the Planning Commission, Board of Zoning Appeal, Design Review Board, and other citizen planners who have contributed their time and expertise to the improvement of the city. And whereas we recognize the many valuable contributions made by professionals in the Community Development Department and extend our heartfelt thanks for these professionals' continued commitment to public service. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and the city council of the city of Milton, proclaim October as National Community Planning Month in the city of Milton, given under my hand and seal of the city of Milton, Georgia, on the 7th day of October of 2024. I see we have Fred Edwards in the room, who is the longest standing volunteer in the city of Milton. Everybody will come on up. We'll present the proclamation, take a picture. Yeah, probably.
Are we staying up here?
Yeah. Brad has had a booth at the Queen of Hearts. Introduce yourself to me. I didn't see you here. Smile. Hi, how are you?
Hi, John.
Today.
You should definitely.
You should introduce yourself. Really tight.
Hey, Fred, better standing than horizontal, right? Judy.
Thank you.
Oh, let's see. Here, Emily, go there. There we go. That's good.
Did you hear what I said?
You ready? 3, 2, 1. Good. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Fred.
One of the many charming thoughts I have. Thank you, Fred.
That was a lot of proclamations tonight.
That was a lot.
A lot. All right.
Water?
Got it. Juliet, help me. There are no first presentation items. We'll move on to the public hearing. Will the city clerk please sound the item?
Mayor, that first item is consideration of the issuance of an alcohol beverage license to 13020 Morse Food, Inc., doing business as Exxon Food Mart here in Milton. It's agenda item number 24302. Our finance director, Ms. Karen Ellis.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, we have one alcoholic beverage license for our public hearing for 10/7/2024. It's for 13020 Morse Food Inc., doing business as Exxon Food Mart. They are located at 13020 Morris Road, Suite C. They are applying for package sales, wine, malt beverage, as well as off-premise Sunday sales. This was advertised in the Milton Herald on September 26th and October 3rd of 2024. This is a new owner. Here you will see where it's located with other alcoholic beverage license applicants. And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions for Karen? Do we have any public comment on this?
We do not, sir.
Okay. I will close the public comment and public hearing, and I will open it for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve agenda item number 24-302.
Second. Okay, have a motion from Councilmember Cookerly, a second from Councilmember Haney to approve agenda item number 24-302. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is unanimous. Next is zoning agenda. Will the city clerk please read the zoning rules and sound the item?
Thank you, Mayor. Those zoning rules are when an item for rezoning petitions, modifications, use permits, and associated concurrent variances are on the agenda, then the rules will apply. The applicant and all those speaking in support of an application will be allowed of 10 minutes to present the petition. The opposition will also be allowed a total of 10 minutes to present its position. If time remains, the opposition will be allowed to rebut. The applicant may choose to save some of the time for rebuttal following the presentation by the opposition. Since the burden of proof is upon the applicant will be allowed to make closing remarks, providing time remains with the allotted time. Those called to speak will be taken in order in which the speaker cards were received. All speakers will identify themselves with name, address, and organization. The Planning Commission has heard the rezoning agenda items, and their recommendations have been forwarded to the mayor and city council for consideration and disposition. The applicant shall not submit material to the council during this meeting unless requested to do so. Any material that was wished to be reviewed by the council in consideration of the application should have already been submitted to the Community Development Department as is included in the normal distribution of the packages to the council. As a reminder, when an opponent of a rezoning action has made within 2 years preceding the filing of the rezoning action being opposed, campaign contributions aggregating $250 or more to a local government official of the local government which will consider the application, it shall be the duty of the opponent to file a disclosure with the governing authority of the respective local government at least 5 days prior to the Planning Commission meeting. A violation of relevant state statute constitutes a misdemeanor. Therefore, if you've contributed $250 or more to a council member and you've not filed a disclosure prior to the Planning Commission meeting, the city attorney strongly suggests that you have someone else speak for your point of view. Our zoning item this evening is consideration of U-2402 and VC-2402. It's 900 Pleasant Hollow Trail by Keith Campbell and Courtney Bartik for a use permit to utilize the existing accessory structure as an artist studio with a 4-part concurrent variance to allow the existing accessory structure to remain in front of the primary residence structure, to allow the existing accessory structure to remain as is without being designed in accordance with predominant commercial building types, to allow the existing accessory structures to remain as is without having a ratio of opening to solids from 30% to 50%. And the final is to allow the existing accessory structure to remain as is without the existing accessory structure having the same window arrangement as the side with the principal entrance. It's agenda item number 24286. Our interim community development director, Ms. Diana Wheeler.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This next agenda item concerns the property that you see on your screen that is circled in red, and it's located at the intersection of Providence Road and Pleasant Hollow Trail. This particular application is for a use permit with 4 concurrent variances in order to allow the property owner to use an existing barn on the property as an artist studio and operate it as a bookbinding business. The 4 variances are the accessory structure to remain in front of the primary residence, the accessory structure to remain as is without being changed to a commercial structure, and then a couple of variances that have to do with the window arrangements and percentage of open space on the windows. The applicant intends to renovate the structure's interior but leave the exterior as it exists. They make custom books and other leather goods. In addition to the property owner, there are 3 other employees that would be part of this business. The existing structure where they're wanting to conduct this business is in a barn on the property, which has its own separate entrance and driveway. And it's also screened from the street. Hours of operation Monday through Friday, 9 to 6 p.m. The current zoning on the property is AG1 agriculture. It is well within the rural Milton overlay district and well outside of the urban growth boundary. The future land use plan calls for this property to remain agriculture, equestrian, and estate residential. We received a site plan that shows the primary residence on the left of your screen. The barn where the accessory business is intended to be taken up within that particular structure is to the right of the screen, and you see the gravel drive with a separate entrance at the top of the screen. So this is the view from the roadway. This is from Providence, and you don't really see much of the structure. You see a little bit of the rooftop of the barn structure as you're on Providence, but at the intersection with Pleasant Hollow. On Pleasant Hollow, there's a better view. And then this is the primary residence that's associated with that accessory barn building. The barn itself looks like this on all sides, and as you can see, it looks very barn-like. It doesn't look like a commercial structure. There was a community zoning information meeting, and we did have some members there who inquired about the particular use and how the use permit works. Design Review Board also looked at this application. They felt that the exterior should remain as it currently exists, which is what the owners intend to do. They also asked about the definition of an artist studio. The Planning Commission reviewed this. There was some concern about the number of people that might access this property beyond the book business. There was concern about will there be events or any other activities there, special activities? And the Planning Commission was satisfied that the staff condition that we'll see in just a moment about not being open to members of the public for this business would prohibit any of those kind of special types of events or other artist classes or other things like that that there was concern about. So the Planning Commission recommended approval of the use and the variance. The applicant had a public participation meeting, and they met with 7 members of the public who were mostly their neighbors. Their neighbors identified some things that they were concerned about. Those were captured in their report, and all of those were included in the staff conditions that are part of this application. City staff also reviewed the plans. The fire marshal talked about the requirements to bring the plans up to commercial code because it is a commercial business. The environmental site analysis was found to be sufficient. With regard to the proposed use permit, it's permitted with AG1 subject to City Council's approval. Staff finds that the use itself is suitable, assuming that conditions are incorporated to make sure that those things that might be a problem will not be an issue in the future. And so we find that the use does not appear to violate any ordinances or regulations, should have a minimum impact on traffic. Off-street parking has been accommodated with separate entrance. There are creek buffers and protective screening for the residents to the west, so we don't think that's going to be an issue for the adjoining neighbors. The hours of operation are reasonable. No additional lighting is being proposed. And as I said, there is separate ingress and egress for the barn facility, so it shouldn't have an impact on traffic and circulation for the property. So you know that variances are based on 4 criteria, and those were all evaluated, and staff is recommending approval of the variances based on the criteria. And so our ultimate recommendation, both to the Planning Commission and to the City Council, is to approve the special use permit and the 4 variances subject to conditions. First is to restrict the use of the property to an artist studio for books, leather goods, paper goods, jewelry, pottery, painting, sewn goods, or other similar arts as approved by the Community Development Director. And the reason for that is because we don't want to expand the scope beyond a very, very limited number of uses, but we also don't want to limit it to just bookbinding, because if somebody wanted to do jewelry or pottery, there would be really no reason to go through this process over again. Restrict the hours of operation Monday through Friday, 9 to 6 p.m. Restrict the hours of delivery Monday through Friday, 8 to 6 p.m. Restrict the number of employees to 4, and one of those, of course, would be the property owner. No members of the public or walk-in retail sales may occur on the subject property, and that's very clear to try to make it well known to the property owner that there are no special events or other types of activities associated with this particular use. No signage shall be permitted on the property for the art studio. There has to be substantial compliance with the site plan that was submitted to the Community Development Department on June 13th, and all construction has to comply with the chief building official and fire marshal requirements for the structure. And that concludes our presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Of course, the applicant, the property owner is here if you have questions for them as well.
Any questions for Ms. Wheeler before we call the applicant? Will you please call the people in support?
I'd like to call Courtney and Andy Campbell to the podium. And these are the applicants, Mayor.
Yep. And just a reminder, you'll have 10 minutes per side.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. My name is Courtney Bartik. This is Andy Campbell. We live at 900 Pleasant Hollow Trail. I have been a resident of Milton for over 15 years, living at Pleasant Hollow Trail, New Providence Road, and Six Hills Lane. I've lived in the Alpharetta, Roswell, Johns Creek area for over 30 years, and I'm proud to call Milton, this beautiful city, my home. In 2006, I started bookbinding in my home's attic. Then in 2009, I moved my craft room into the basement in my first home in Milton. I saw some success with selling my art and thought, hey, it's a good idea to grow the business, right? I grew the outreach, number of artists on payroll, the floor space required, but a handmade artisan business is a tough thing to scale. And growing it didn't make me happy, especially while trying to juggle the demands of life as a mom and an entrepreneur. So when life had me at crossroads, I had to make a difficult decision to scale my business back, returning once again to the home. So on our almost 4 acres sits a beautiful, perfectly sized barn of about 1,200 square feet. Knowing that the city of Milton created a special use permit for Artist Studio in 2014, and that there is a precedent set for this exact type of thing, we jumped into this process, doing it the right way, asking for the special use permit and associated variances, and following the city's process. If I had the business inside my home, the special use would not be required. But together, Andy and I have 6 kids and 3 animals. And even though this house is big, it's not big for all of us, including my business. The barn is a perfect spot for my art. It has its own separate gated entrance, its own parking pad, plenty of space to store my supplies, and just enough space for me and my 2 part-time employees who have been with me over 10 years combined. There will be no customers, no visitors, no signs. Our deliveries and pickups will correspond with regular scheduled shipments. It's a minor change, really. We want to maintain the barn's charm. After all, it is a quintessential Milton barn. Anyone who drives on Providence Road likely knows of the barn with the red metal roof. The design committee wants us to preserve its look, making minimal changes, and we too are in agreement. We have been fortunate to have so much support of our community and our neighbors, and we hope to have your support as well on our request for the special use permit and associated variances. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other people in support?
I have one more.
Okay.
Yes, Sarah Moen, I invite you to the podium.
Are there any in opposition?
No.
Okay.
Sarah Moen, 130 Providence Plantation Drive. I support this item, but would ask council to consider using tighter language in the conditioning. I am very pro small business, but I'm also very pro neighborhood and residential areas. When a decision is being made to marry the two, every safeguard possible must be put in place to protect the homeowners who will be affected by the decision to allow a business into said neighborhood or residential area. Unfortunately, sometimes the risks and downfalls aren't known until much later when it's too late to change conditions, which is why I have emailed each of you my suggestions and why I'm outlining them here tonight. Mr. Campbell and Ms. Bartik are fine people with a clear business plan. Move the existing leather bookbinding business from its current location to the unused barn on their new home property. They do not operate currently with any on-site customers, art lessons, art shows, exhibits, or any of the events related to the aforementioned activities. Therefore, the conditions or tighter language on the conditions, I would respectfully request you add to the list that's been proposed by ComDev and agreed to by Planning Commission will in no way hinder the operations of Mr. Campbell and Ms. Bartik's business, nor pose a hardship to the business. As I stated in my email to you, because this SUP will be tied to the concurrent variances and hence to the zoning, a longitudinal view of the future effects should the property change hands must be taken into consideration, and the language in the conditions needs to be as specific and restrictive as possible now. So I would just add that you add no on-site art shows, exhibits, on-site art classes, on-site special events relating to the business. I would even ask that you consider removing the SUP if they sell the property. When I presented this list to Planning Commission on August 28th, the applicants responded by saying they did not want art lessons taken off the table because their neighbors had asked for a special class. I don't think that there would be any problem if the city imposed that condition or that language and make an allowance for a one-time art class to the neighborhood. Okay, again, I'm very pro small business, but I'm also pro protection of the homeowners who may not know what could unfold in the future. So I appreciate your thoughtful consideration and discussion about these additional conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any opposition?
That concludes. all
Okay, I'll
public
close
comment.
the public hearing and public comment, and I'll open it for questions to the applicant or staff. Council?
I think that the staff was very thorough, and it's a reasonable request, and it's good use of a large lot, preservation of the barn, saving yourselves a lot of money not having horses. Very good. You actually be productive in your barn. So I'm ready to approve it.
Any questions?
No, my only question or my only concern is the unintended consequences. And if there's, I mean, you seem like you've thought through, the planning commission and staff have thought through every potential scenario. Just want is there anything else that maybe hadn't been thought of yet?
Is that question for Miss Wheeler?
Yeah.
Okay.
We were really trying to be very mindful of unintended consequences, obviously not because of this particular property owner, but because at some point the property will likely sell. And so that is a potential for a business, an at-home business. And so we crafted the language very specifically about the uses that are allowed, and then also said no public access for sales or otherwise. At this point, I can't anticipate what an unintended consequence might be that doesn't involve the public and that doesn't, that involves those very few limited uses. None of those uses emit any type of sound or odor or anything else from that type of business. So people really shouldn't be aware of it. The public can't access it, and we've limited to 4 employees. So I really can't anticipate what an unintended consequence might be.
So the no public access kind of takes care of some of those concerns.
That and 4 employees, 1 being the homeowner.
Correct.
So 3
That's correct.
additional cars at most.
Yes.
And we all know that other residents are very good watchdogs. So I think there's built-in protection there.
Any other questions for Ms. Wheeler or the applicant? Okay, hearing none, I will open it for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we approve agenda item number 24-286.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Jacobus and a second from Councilmember Verhoff to approve agenda item number 24286 with staff's recommended conditions. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is unanimous. Thank you. We will move on to unfinished business. Will the city clerk please sound the item?
Mayor, that item is consideration of an ordinance for an amendment to City Code Chapter 10 to authorize and regulate private third-party plan reviewers and building inspectors. Agenda item number 24285, Ms. Diana Wheeler.
Mayor and Council, this next item has to do with a proposed amendment to Chapter 10 of the City Code, adding Article 5 to authorize and regulate private third-party plan reviewers and building inspectors. And the reason we're looking to do this is because it's state mandated that municipalities, cities, other jurisdictions provide the building community, development community with the opportunity to hire their own private third-party inspectors and plan reviewers. So the city needs to adopt a program to accommodate this state law. And what we did was we looked to GMA to provide us with a model ordinance, which they do for most laws, and we customized it for the city of Milton. The city attorney has reviewed the document, and they find that it is legally sufficient to meet our needs and comply with state law. And what the proposed ordinance says is that third-party inspectors and plan reviewers have to be licensed architect, engineers, or qualified inspectors. And qualified inspectors are folks who are either licensed through their trade or through ICC certification or some other form of acceptability by the building official. Qualified individuals are required to then apply with the city. The city keeps a list of all of those individuals who are qualified to perform these functions. And then there's an annual review of the qualified individuals to make sure that they maintain their qualifications. The proposed ordinance also says that the inspectors have to submit certificates or affidavit to the city for review. The third-party inspectors and plan reviewers, when they're used, 50% of the fee is paid up front to the city, but the city can also adopt a convenience fee, which usually means that we end up collecting 100% of the fees that are normally charged, and we're not really losing out on any revenue. It's just a service that we offer to those folks who want to take advantage of that. The city ultimately retains final authority on code interpretations and regulations. The city has the ability to monitor the quality of all work, and only the city issues COs. The ordinance also has provisions to prevent conflicts of interest from third-party participants. They require liability insurance. There are provisions for suspending folks for certain infractions, and there is an appeal process. And that is what the proposed ordinance includes. I'd be happy to answer any specific questions if you have about the ordinance, but as I say, this is something that most cities already have in place. It's a program that we really need to adopt in order to be able to accommodate the state mandated requirement.
Any questions from Ms. Wheeler? I have one question. I received one call.
Yes, sir.
I received a call. So anyone can apply. I'm assuming, I guess the question was, who's making the final call on who gets the approval? And are there minimum requirements?
There are minimum requirements. They have to be either a professional engineer, architect, or qualified through some other form, as I mentioned before, and the building official makes that determination.
Perfect. And is it like an annual, is it an annual?
Yes.
Thing? Okay.
Annual renewal.
Okay, great. Any public comment on this?
There are none, sir.
None? Okay. I'll open it for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve agenda item number 24-285.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Haney and a second from Councilmember Jacobus to approve agenda item number 24-285. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is unanimous. We will move on to new business. Will the city clerk please stay on the item?
Mayor, item A is consideration of a resolution adopting the 2024 Capital Improvement Elements Annual Update. It's agenda item number 24303, Interim Community Development Director Diana Wheeler.
The capital improvement element is part of the comprehensive plan that's updated annually. And this particular CIE update includes a financial report from 2023 of all of our projects. And it also includes the next 5 year, the program and the budget for the next 5 years worth of programs, community work program, and everything that's impact fee eligible. We're required to do this annually. The Department of Community Affairs requires it in order to update our qualified local government status for another year. And that's very important because without that, we are not eligible for state funding. And just to recap the process, we submitted all of our documentations. We had a resolution that the council adopted and sent to the Department of Community Affairs. Once they receive that document, the resolution and the backup material, they review it, and then they submit to us a letter telling us if it's sufficient or not. We were fortunate to receive a letter from the Department of Community Affairs saying that all of our materials were sufficient, and we were eligible to continue with this capital improvement program, subject to the City Council adopting a final resolution. And so the previous resolution was a transmittal resolution. This evening, you have an adoption resolution before you.
Thank you. Any public comment on this?
There are none.
Okay, I'll close public comment. Any questions for Ms. Wheeler? Okay, hearing none, I'll open it for a motion.
Make a motion that we approve agenda item number 24-303.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Burhoff and a second from Councilmember Johnson to approve agenda item number 24-303. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That is unanimous. Will City Clerk please say on the next item?
Item B is consideration of proposed consent final order and judgment to settle condemnation. Action is reference to Morris Road widening project as parcel 1 and 20. The owner is 13560 Morris Road, Office Investors LLC. Is civil action file number 2023 CV 383905. It's agenda item number 24304. Our engineering project manager, Mr. Rob Del Ross.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item resolves parcels 1 and 20 for the Morris Road project. Previously, you authorized the use of eminent domain at the fair market value of $91,300. The legal process has run its course, and we are required to pay an additional $8,700 to resolve this. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Any public comment on this?
There is none.
Any questions for Rob? Okay, hearing none, I'll open it for a motion.
Make a motion to approve agenda item number 24304.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilor Haney and a second from Councilor Johnson to approve agenda item number 24-304. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Will City Clerk please say on the next item?
The next item is approval of a final plat. It's the development at Brayburn Townhomes on 2031 Heritage Walk. It's land lot 1135, District 2, Section 2. It's a final plat revision with a total of 0.78 acres and a density of 11.5 units per acre. It's agenda item number 24305. Our land development manager, Ms. Tracy Wilds.
Mayor, members of council, tonight I'm going to be presenting the revision for a final plat at Brayburn Townhomes. The subject site is located just across the street from City Hall, here on Heritage Walk. You see the property identified in yellow. The site plan for this property shows that there's a total site area of 0.78 acres. It is zoned T4 open. There are a total of 9 units. Units 1 through 3 were originally platted in September of 2020. Staff presented a plat revision in November of 2021 for the next 3 units, units 4 through 6. And tonight's revisions will include the final 3 units, units 7 through 9, which are highlighted here in yellow. Again, final plat revision would complete the 9 fee simple townhomes that were originally planned on the property. It is seeking your approval tonight. The plat as submitted does meet all city codes and requirements, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. Any public comment on this?
There is none.
Okay, any questions for Ms. Tracy? Okay, with that, I will open it for a motion.
Make a motion that we approve agenda item number 24-305.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Burhoff and a second from Councilmember Cookerly to approve agenda item number 24-305. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous. Councilmember Johnson was not here. Okay, will City Clerk please say on the next item?
That next item, Mayor, is consideration of a settlement agreement between the Lisa Froman and the City of Milton, Georgia. The City of Milton shall receive a stormwater easement as part of settlement and shall have an obligation to maintain the easement. Insurance for Vertical Earth will tender $15,000 towards settlement. It's agenda item number 24306. Our city attorney, Mr. Paul Fricke.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. This is the result of a contract as part of the Hopewell Road at Bethany Bend Way Improvement Project. In the course of that construction project, Vertical Earth built a drainage facility along the road outside of the city's right-of-way. As a result, in order to make the homeowner at 13460 Hopewell Road whole and to make the city's use of that drainage area legal, the city agreed to acquire a permanent easement. Vertical Earth and its insurer will be paying for any settlement proceeds. So the $15,000 will actually come from Vertical Earth or their insurer. The city will maintain an ongoing obligation to maintain the easement that it has acquired as a part of that agreement.
Thank you. Any questions? Any public comment?
There are none.
Okay. Thank you. And I'll open it for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we approve agenda item number 24-306.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilor Cookerly and a second from Councilor Jacobus to approve agenda item number 24-306. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That is unanimous. Council have anything to report on? Hearing none, I'll just say thanks for city staff for a wonderful Crabapple Fest. Public Works, Economic Development, Community Development. It's a great team effort. Appreciate it. I know the businesses, they even appreciate it more. So thank you all. With that, I will have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, a motion from Councilor Johnson, a second from Councilor Verhoff to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Peyton.